All right, welcome to another episode of Closers or Losers. Today, we've given our CEO, Matt Ryder, the day off. He has COVID for the 17th time. I'm not sure what's going on. He had the original OG COVID version. Then he got vaccinated, was good. And then he got, I think, the third rated COVID version now. So not quite as sick, but we had to give him a day off. So we've got James here, our COO, our warrior, who's going to ask me some crazy questions. What are you doing over there, man?
Today I'm just sitting at home. I've got the a couple of contractors coming around to the house, so I'm out of the office.
Yeah,
and it's probably a good thing I'm not in the office if all the guys have COVID. So
yeah, so
number 17.
So who else has COVID in the Sydney office there?
Just Matt at this stage. I mean, no one else has tested for it, so for all I know, I could have it, right?
You might have it.
Well,
that's good. We, here a couple of weeks ago, we had our outbreak here in the Scottsdale office, where pretty much I think over half of everybody got COVID. I had the original OG version like a year ago, so the third version just didn't even hit me, man. It was like, This dude, original version, he's good,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, for all I know, I've got it right now. I'll try not to cough on the microphone so the listeners don't catch it. We'll do our best.
Good. All right, man. So today, what we thought we'd do a little bit differently. So we're giving Matt a day off. We brought James in here. He's our COO. Very, very equipped, very great salesperson himself. Could probably compete on his own with a lot of our sales guys that we have that crush it for different accounts himself if he was in there. But we're going to have James just ask us some rapid fire questions. So every day we get, people, clients, or even people that are not clients, like will email us into the show, or they maybe email us into customer service or something, or in our Facebook group. They'll email us like certain questions, and we compile that list. And then typically about once a month, we just had rapid fire Q&A. So James, I think you got the list. You want to rapid fire me some questions?
Yeah. So I've got a list on this screen. So if the guys on YouTube watching, if I'm not looking at the camera, it's because I'm reading some of the next questions to get prepared. So the first question that I found here is from someone that's been in the industry for 4 years. Okay. Do you skip the small talk on scheduled calls compared to a non-scheduled call, I guess?
Do I skip? So the question is, do I skip small talk on what was the question again? I'm off.
So do you skip all that small talk when a call is scheduled in? I guess
okay, that makes sense.
Probably got experience in like the automotive industry where people walk in and they have that chit chat prior. As opposed to a booking, right?
What industry is that person in?
Not sure.
They say there should say what industry they're in on the document.
Church facility management software.
Church facility management software. Okay, I see it. Do you skip small talk on scheduled call? That's a great call. So first of all, you want to skip small talk on any call, whether it's an inbound lead, whether it's an outbound lead. The worst mistakes salespeople make, like when companies have us come in and do audits on their salespeople, what we hear time and time again, which triggers so much sales resistance, is let's say they get on a booked call. Somebody's booked on the salesperson's calendar, or even if they're calling them because they requested information, they're calling back. And one of the first questions they say is, "How are you doing today, Janice?" Okay, well, I hate to tell you, but Janice knows that you're not really that interested in how her day's going. Let's just be real, right? Like when a salesperson asks you, "How are you doing today, sir? How's the weather out there? Did you see the game last night?" Everybody knows that you're not really serious. You're not willing to set their 20 minutes for them to tell you how great or bad their day was, right? It's like small talk. So with a lot of people, especially business owners or A-type personalities, even with people that are not like this, but especially with A-type, that automatically triggers resistance because they know what you're doing. Okay. So when you get on, let's say a scheduled book call, and let's say this gentleman it looks like his name's Lee Cool here. So Lee, we're answering your question. Church facility management software. When you get on that call, let's say they've scheduled the call, you're just going right into it. Okay. So And let's say if you're on Zoom with them, all right, so John, it looks like you had booked on the calendar about possibly getting some outside help with your blank so that you could get blank, right? And you just repeat back what they said they're looking for, okay? They're going to say, yeah. And then you start off, okay, so the first part of this call, I would say is really more for us to find out more about kind of what you're doing. And like I said, it's industry to industry. It's going to be a little bit different. I'm just giving you the format. The first part of this call is really more for us to find out more about, kind of what you're doing now as far as like how you're managing, like in this example, how you're managing, your church and your offices. And then I would say really what you're looking for, just to see if we can actually help. Because there's some people where there's just not much we can do for them. You know what I mean by that, right? And they'll be like, oh yeah. Okay. And I was just curious, like when you saw the ad, where you saw X and Y and Z, what was it about the ad that attracted your attention? Okay. That's one of your first connecting questions, takes the focus off you, automatically puts it on them. So to answer the question, James, avoid small talk at all costs because your prospects are more cautious and skeptical than they've ever been before. It just gets worse every year. Small talk triggers sales resistance because they know you're not genuinely interested in how their day is going. Let's be real, right?
So no chit chat, whether it's scheduled or not. You should have the questions build the rapport for you, right?
The questions build trust. Like your questioning ability and your tonality builds credibility and builds trust. You want to come in, I call it a status frame. Okay. Every sales interaction you're on, you have to come into that interaction, whether it's an inbound lead, outbound lead, cold call, door to door, B2B, you're walking into an office or a boardroom meeting, it doesn't matter. You have to come in with the right tonality and questions that immediately establish you as having at least an equal status as your prospect. If you come in and you start chit-chatting, how you doing today? How's the weather? Like nobody cares. You immediately lower your status because every salesperson does that. So they immediately lower your status in their mind, and they start to shift you off to the side and commoditize you as just another person trying to sell them something. Now, throughout that conversation, okay, whether it's a 1 call close or 2 call close, or let's say you're in a B2 complex sell environment, it's a 3 or 4 month window close, whatever it is, you have to establish your status as being higher than that prospect as you go. And your questioning ability allows them to see that you're an expert in what you do. You're like the authority, the trusted authority, and it gives you a much higher status than them. And do people buy off people who they feel like they want to get the result from, who they want to be like? Yes, that's called a status frame. You don't want to go below their status or you're dead in the water.
Yeah, okay. Next question is from Joseph, who's in D2D pest control. And it's around like name dropping or, mentioning other people that have some relevance in whatever community you're selling to. And his question is, does name dropping trigger resistance? I guess an example of that would be, let's say somebody jumps on a sales call for sales training and they come in and be like, or our sales guy is selling something else. And they go, I know I'm good friends with Jeremy, for example. Therefore, I should be good. I've been trained by Jeremy, let's say in an interview or something. Does name dropping, do you think, cause sales resistance or aid?
No, I don't think so. It depends on how you bring it up. So if this person is selling door-to-door pest control, I'm very familiar. We train a lot of people in door-to-door sales as well. Name dropping works if it's not overdone. I was just over at your neighbors, the Joneses. They've been with us for a while. I don't have much time. I've got to go to another appointment. So I just like casually name drop in there that builds a little bit of trust. Like it's not something new. They're not the only person that I've talked to. So it's how you build in the name dropping. It's just casual. You're kind of seeding it, not as a sales technique, but you're just kind of seeded in mind that there's trust there. So that's not going to trigger sales resistance. Easy.
I guess then like the kind of opposite of that would be when he comes like, I've just been down the road of Bill and, Bill's a great guy. Bill's done X, Y, Z. Bill got the Model 100 solar panels on his roof. Therefore, I think that you should get them. Yeah, that'd be an example of causing resistance, right?
Yeah, that's a little bit too much because then they kind of know what you're doing. But yeah, I'm just I was just over at your neighbors over here, Bob and Linda. We're using them as well. I don't have much time though. I've got to go to a next appointment. See, that's a casual kind of naming somebody or name dropping rather than what you did, which, as you know, would trigger resistance. Going into that type of detail for sure.
Okay. So this one will be interesting to talk about. From Mira, who was in personal development. She when objection handling, when a prospect gets a little bit hysterical, right? So they've obviously, you may have said something that's caused resistance. You've got them on edge. How, I guess what she's trying to ask is, how do we calm them down, bring them back into alignment, so that we could potentially get them across the line now?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I wish, because I see it on here, objection handling, prospect gets hysterical. I'd have to know a little bit more about what caused the hystericalness or like what caused that. But it's all about disarming the prospect. We always talk about, and it's even in the new book that's coming out here, in the fall of 2022, the new model of selling, selling to an unsellable generation. We focus a lot on, instead of using the ABCs of closing that everybody has heard that trigger sales resistance, because we're always trying to close, pounce, close. We want to disarm the prospect. We call that the ABDs of selling. So we want to always be disarming. That's from the very beginning of that conversation to the middle of that conversation to, let's say, if you're in a one call close, it could be to the end of the conversation and they have an objection. We're continually asking questions that disarm the prospect and triggers them to want to engage with us. Now, I wish I knew a little bit more about what she means by the prospect gets hysterical or what that even means, because I think I could answer that probably in 10 different ways. But what I'll do is I'll kind of throw some mud on the wall and hopefully it sticks for her, because I don't know any more details. So if the prospect gets hysterical, let's say that they have an objection about the money. They're like, there's just no way we can afford this. And they just get aggressive, let's just say. And you say,
say you accidentally offended them. You push too hard. You've given them a little bit of offense. They've taken a step back.
Okay.
The rapport has gone out the way. There's no more trust. Yeah. You need to disarm them. Like, how do you come back from that?
Oh, John, and I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you. What I was asking, and kind of from what you were telling me, is let's say you go to your spouse, because you want to talk to your spouse, and let's say they don't want to give you the extra funds so that you can invest, so that you can X, Y, and Z. What would happen to your situation at that point, though? That's what I was asking. So just calmly asking, just say, oh, I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you. The reason why I asked you that question is, and go through that way. That's what I would do. Like I said, I'd have to know more about what caused the hysteria, but you want to, oh, I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you. Don't say I'm sorry. There's a difference in sorry and I apologize. Okay. The reason why I want to say, oh, I apologize, I didn't mean to offend you, is typically when you say I didn't mean to offend you, people are like, oh no, you didn't offend me. Okay. It's just, they say the exact opposite. So I'm disarming that prospect.
Okay. Do you mind like elaborating a bit on the difference between saying sorry and saying offending?
Yeah. It's all about the status frame. Okay. So you say, oh, I'm sorry. It's different than like, oh, I apologize. Apologize is more formal. Sorry is more like a weaker version of that, right? So it lowers your status in their mind. It takes you out of the status frame, is what I would call it. So apologize. Oh, I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you, rather than like, oh, I'm sorry. Just a weaker status frame.
Okay. Yeah.
Crazy.
Right. I like the one thing that when we got to spend some time together and what you presented in the retreat was the ABD, always be disarming. So the guys in the comment, just comment ABD, and I'll have the media team create a meme of Alec Baldwin going through that thing. We'll Photoshop Jeremy's face on and go A, always, B, D, disarming. We'll change it around. So if you want to see that, comment ABD.
The Glenn Ross film. Yeah, I like that. ABDs. Yes. ABDs, always be disarming, baby.
Always be disarming. So next one from Daniel, who's in ecom. So instead of BizOp, probably something like Shopify.
Okay.
Something Walmart online, one of those type offers.
Okay.
And this is a really interesting question. I'd love to see how you handle it. What do you do when a prospect gets too technical? I.e., they're like, they want the I's dotted, the T's crossed, and they need that level of information. Like, how do you do some of that?
Well, first of all, that's a triggered response. So if a prospect is asking questions, it's because you probably triggered that by what you said in your presentation. So when we're in a presentation, we can't be too vague, but we can't get too technical where we go into the weeds, which creates more objections. So we want to have like a 3-step formula there. We teach all this in our virtual training courses, as you know, of course. But in that 3-step formula, we need to emotionally connect the dots, right? We've taken them through connecting questions. We've put the focus on them, taken them off us, situation questions, help them find out what their current situation is and us. Problem awareness, help them realize what problems they have, why they have the problem, how it's affecting them. Solution awareness, now they're focused on what it's going to look like once the problems are solved and they reach their objectives. We yank it away with our consequence questions. It gets them to defend themselves on why they have to change, to get out of the status quo. And then let's say, we're in a 1-call close or a 2-call close, or maybe it's your 4th appointment with them. Let's say you're selling some type of, SaaS, or, let's say you're selling cybersecurity software to a bank and you're 3 months down the road, you're finally presenting in front of the board. Doesn't really matter, B2C, B2B. We have to structure the presentation where it emotionally connects the dots. So we do that in a 3-step formula. Okay. The first thing that we want to do is we want to remind them of a problem they brought up. And you remember, and let's say he sells, I think, e-commerce or Amazon. So we'll try to make it as specific as we can here. We train a lot of companies in that space. So John, do you remember how you were saying that you've had an Amazon store, but you don't really have the right research tools or really the experience or knowledge to find the right products that are going to be profitable? So I repeat back a problem he said he had. Okay. So one of the biggest problems that people have when they come to us is the same exact thing. They get into Amazon, but they don't have the experience. They don't have the knowledge to properly research the products. They pick a product because it looks cool or sounds good to them. They go out and market, and then they end up losing money because they just don't have those skills. So the way we solve that for our clients is, and then you go over the specific aspects of your training or your program or whatever you're selling that actually solves that problem. Okay. So it doesn't matter the product or service, whatever part of your product or service that solves that problem, you go through it. You don't get too crazy technical, but you're not going to be so vague where it's just going to create more questions. Okay. Then the third part of that formula is you simply say, and what that means to you is, and then you go over the advantages and benefits of what it's actually going to do for them. Okay. So one of the biggest problems that people have when they come to us is they don't know how to X and Y and Z, which causes them to A, B, and C. Repeat the consequence. So the way we solve that for our clients is, and go over specifically how you solve that, and then what that means to you is, and then you go over the advantages and benefits of what it's going to do for them. When you do that, that pretty much clears up and answers any questions in their mind. And they start to, like I said, they view you as the expert because you have emotionally connected the dots in their mind of problem, how you solve it, and what that is going to do for them. When you do that, there's really no questions left.
So it's funny, right? Because I'm one of those logical-based decision-making people that really values like the technical side of thing. And typically, if I'm on a sales call, particularly if it's a product which is something like e-com that's going to have an ROI, if I look at it in the same way that I'd look at purchasing a property or something else, like I want to know that all the numbers make sense. I want to be able to calculate my ROI. I want to be able to do X, Y, Z to understand whether or not there's a good opportunity cost, whether or not my money is best invested elsewhere and whatnot. Or maybe I'm looking to diversify and I need to make sure this fits in with my goals. In saying that, I've been on a lot of sales calls where I just smash the guy with technical questions that can't answer it. But when we practice with guys that know NEPQ, even with that severe understanding for logic and reasoning, it all goes out the window when someone guides me through a right process. I switch from like logical to emotional based sell. I'm like, okay, just take my money. It's so
true. Yeah, it's so right. So once you learn NEPQ, if you're new to the podcast, that stands for Neuro Emotional Persuasion Questioning. It's our methodology that works with human behavior. Your prospects typically start to pull you in, right? Because you're able to help them get into like their emotional state of what their real problems are, what's caused the problem, the root cause, and then how the problems are personally affecting them. That triggers them to become far more open to seeing you as somebody who's going to get them where they want to go with what you're offering 100% of the time.
Yeah, it's cool. We got Eric, who's in cabinet refacing. And this is an interesting one. Obviously, he's made the sale in this instance, but he's had a client who's like accepted the quote and has come back and then decided to pull out. So his question is suggestions for saving a cancelled order. How do you respond to this?
Yeah, this is easy. So we train a lot of people in this industry as well. So typically, let's talk about why that happened. Okay, so typically the reason why somebody cancels after they paid or bought is the same reasons that we just talked about. You weren't able to help them clearly see in their mind that by changing their situation, that means purchasing what you're offering, is far less risky for them than them doing nothing at all, staying in the status quo, and then nothing ever changes, right? Which is more risky. And you can't tell them that because that just goes in one ear out the other because you're the salesperson. It's your questioning ability and how you're asking the questions that allows the prospect to see that clearly in their mind and internally persuade themselves. If we're still using, traditional selling skills or just asking a few consultative questions and then going right into our solution, what you're trying to do is you're externally persuading them. But when you leave, what happens? Well, external persuasion wears off very quickly, right? And you're
buyer's remorse. Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of buyer's remorse. We just don't have that with our clients, right? Now, if it does happen, let's say they come back and like, oh, we want to cancel. You're simply going to call them, just be polite, just say, hey, John, this is Eric. I was just over at the other house now. Customer service had mentioned that you were thinking about possibly not going through with the kitchen repair. Help me understand. We can definitely cancel the order out, but what caused you to not want to get the cabinets in so that your wife could start having more of her guests over like she was talking about? Notice how I'm applying the cabinets in so that, and I'm repeating back the end benefit that, let's say the wife didn't like the old cabinets and she was embarrassed to have her friends over, right? And then, so I'm tying in what they said they wanted with them not canceling. And so that's going to help me at least get what their concern is. Well, we looked around and we found somebody that was this, or we didn't understand this. And usually you're going to help them. You're going to find out what their concern is, and then you help them resolve the concern. But if you admit like, yeah, that's not a problem. Like, hey, John, customer service got back to me, said that you weren't wanting to go through the order, and we can definitely cancel that out for you. There's no problem with that. But I'm just curious, before I leave, I guess what's holding you back from getting the cabinets in? So like you said, when you sell the house, you're getting a greater return because of the money you put into the new kitchen, if that's what they said they wanted. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that takes the sales pressure out because I basically admitted, yeah, we can cancel it out. Right. But before I go, I'm about to go, so the pressure's off. I was just curious, but before I go, I was just curious, what caused you to not go through with getting the new cabinets in? So like your wife was saying, you guys would be able to have more people over because you had more room in the kitchen, if that was the end benefit. So once again, I'm tying in the money and getting what they said they wanted. And then they're going to tell me their real concern, and then I can help them overcome it and save the sale. Okay. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I like it. We'll get a last question from Matty, who's in roofing. He's been in there for about 4 months, right up the top, by the way. So his question is, should you show your company rating during a presentation, or I guess talk about the benefits of your company, i.e. I have 3,366 testimonials. We're rated by the government.
5,000 now, James.
Almost, yeah. I stopped counting after 3,000.
You stopped counting like 8 months ago.
Yeah. The Better Business Bureau gives us an A-class rating. All that type of stuff to pump up the tires.
So you have to do it selectively because those are good things to have, but you can't do it as like, slide number 2, here's our corporate office. Slide number 3, we've been AAA rated with the Better Business Bureau. Like nobody cares about that kind of stuff. So what you want to do is seed it in during the presentation. But so let's say you open up your manual. Let's say because I think he's selling roofing. So we train a lot of people in that industry as well. And I know that's kind of how they do it. Open up an iPad or they'll have like a slideshow presentation on an iPad or, or a manual, something like that with a flip. It's usually on an iPad or something. Yeah. And I would simply just mention that, but like, now, what I can do if you'd like is I can kind of go over some different, so you're getting into your presentation. So you've already taken them through the conversation, the engagement stage, all that stuff, ask them those questions that we teach in our courses. Then you're jumping to the presentation. Okay, so John, what I can do if you'd like is I can go over with you and Sally some different options we have on actually how we can kind of solve the problems you'd mentioned about the roof leaking and those type of things. Would that help you? Okay, good. Now, in the first part, I won't go through all this. This just goes kind of through all the awards, the AAA rating, all that kind of mumbo jumbo stuff, all of our clients, all that kind of stuff. And, none of that really matters to you, right? Now let's go over here. And then I start going into the different options, right? Mm-hmm. So I seed it just barely, but I downplay it. Does that make sense? I'm not going to sit there and spend 20 minutes on the corporate office and AAA ratings. And we've got this from the Roofing Association. So what I'll do, these are a few slides. I mean, none of this really matters. These are just kind of our ratings, customer service, all that kind of mumbo jumbo, just boring stuff. And what I can do over here. And then, so I kind of seed it, but then I go into the main points that they care about.
Yeah. I really like that stuff. Put into the website. And on like the confirmation emails when people opt in, or as the follow-up post sale, have that display there. I find that when that's on the website and there's any like redirects coming into a funnel or coming in as a lead, it helps to build that trust, which increases shot rate. So you're actually getting the appointments turned up.
Yeah.
I feel like it's important. Yeah.
It's the same thing with us. When we made the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies in the United States in 2021, we have all of that on our email signature. So when emails go out, they just see it. We don't need to say it. It's just there, right? It's on the corporate website. We don't need to say it in our presentation. It's just there. It's just like matter of fact.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, I think that's all we got time for today. So, if you guys have any more questions as well, pop them in the comments section and we'll add them to our list of questions. We got heaps to go through here. So
heaps to go through here. We always do a rapid fire Q&A once a month with James on here. James, thanks for being on here. Thanks for filling in with our co-host, Matt. Tell him to get better. He's got the Omicron version of COVID. He should be fine. So we're grateful that he's okay. But thanks for filling in today. Now, if you haven't joined the Facebook group, everybody go ahead and join our Facebook group. We do a lot of live trainings and then we go live in our Facebook group, Sales Revolution. So it's salesrevolution.group. We've got a link here. Go to salesrevolution.group if you haven't already joined. We've got about 15 or 16,000 different sales professionals and entrepreneurs in there. We go live in there about 3 to 4 times a week with different trainings. We just went live in there right before this with the training on how do you overcome or get your prospect to overcome I need to talk to my spouse, or I need to run this through my business partner's objection. How do you navigate that, whether you sell B2C or B2B? So we go through different trainings like that during the week, different Q&As. We actually do different role plays in the Facebook group. And right when you join the Facebook group, we will tag you. So look in your Facebook Messenger. We'll tag you a free training called the NEPQ 101 mini course, which is a different list of different questions that you can use. Doesn't even matter your industry, for different sales situations you're in to, once again, disarm the prospect and get them to open up and want to engage with you. We actually give that to everybody as a gift right when you join. James, thanks for being on here today. Be safe out there. We'll see you soon.
Having me, guys. Enjoy.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here, Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're going to help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.